John Wick office guy. After watching John Wick, Ryan realized his problem was not anxiety voices or meetings where adults said circle back like it was a military maneuver. His problem was wardrobe-based mortality. So he bought a black suit, a black 9mm, and shoes that made every hallway sound armed. On Monday, he entered the office looking like he had Russian mafia at 9, budgeting at 10, and emotional regulation never. Dave from accounting asked if someone had died, Ryan said. Not yet. HR heard that and opened a tab called prevention. He treated the office like a criminal underworld. The elevator was an extraction chamber. The printer was a hostile asset. The coffee machine was the ally who betrays you by asking for descaling. At the gun store, the clerk asked what he needed the pistol for. Ryan said, discipline. The clerk looked at his laptop hands and said, we sell grip strengtheners. Ryan whispered, pain is a receipt. At Starbucks, the barista wrote Brian. His name was Ryan. He stared at the cup like civilization had fired first. From that day, every office mistake became lore. A missing stapler was a breach. Someone took his almond milk, and he called it a contract. He trained at home with supplies, reloads with staplers, turns with a hole punch, dry glances in the mirror. Nothing says elite assassin like being startled by yourself. Then HR scheduled workplace safety training. The instructor said, in an emergency, calmly exit through the nearest marked door. Ryan raised his hand. What if the door is compromised? Nobody laughed. Dave put his sandwich back in the bag because some men bring lunch and some bring foreshadowing. That night, Ryan heard a noise in his apartment. The suit hung like a black flag of unpaid therapy. He looked at the pistol case, breathed like a man with a past, and stepped into the hallway. It was his robot vacuum stuck under a chair. The app notification said, Brian's Roomba needs help. Ryan closed his eyes. They found my name. RDR2 Cowed Girl. After Red Dead Redemption 2, Cassidy did not become a fan. Fans buy posters. Cassidy bought a lever-action rifle, leather boots, and enough confidence to turn groceries into moral standoffs. She used to say, hi. Now she said evening partner, to cashiers, to dentists, to an ATM that declined her card and therefore became a bank robber. Her friend Mia tried to intervene. You live in an apartment. I live on disputed land. You pay rent. To a corrupt railroad baron. It's a dentist named Martin. Cassidy nodded. Friendly names, sharp leases. She believed modern life had no honor. Then she spent 40 minutes with customer support because her boots arrived in cinnamon desert instead of burnt saddle brown. She called it betrayal. The agent called it eligible for return. At the gun store, she carried the lever-action case like a sacred heirloom, even though the heirloom came with free shipping. She asked if the rifle had a soul. The clerk said it had a manual. She said, same thing if you can read pain. She made every parking lot feel like a duel. Someone took her spot and she whispered, this town ain't big enough for the both of us. Mia said, it's a target. Then came horseback riding. This was supposed to be destiny, woman and beast, leather and sunset. The horse looked at her once and recognized a person whose animal experience ended at cutscenes. She asked the instructor, do you have anything with less judgment? The instructor brought a pony. The pony judged harder. Later, her ex texted Cassidy stared like he had burned down her ranch. Mia said, block him. Cassidy said, a woman can't outrun unfinished business. Then she opened Instagram to check whether he watched her story. By night, she stood outside a gas station, lever action case beside her, fluorescent lights buzzing. She opened the loyalty app. Civilization makes cowards of us all, she said. Then she redeemed 2 protein bars with Frontier points. Rootin', tootin', coupon shootin'. Tactical pilot's girl. She never called it a gun. She called it a personal boundary tool, a micro-compact fit perfectly into her lifestyle between Pilates, matcha, skincare, journaling, and captions about people who drain your energy while checking if they viewed the story. Her apartment looked like a wellness retreat with emergency plans. Beige mats, white candles, drawers labeled self-care and legal preparedness. The vibe was namaste strapped. Her friend Mia asked, isn't this intense? She said, women are allowed to feel safe. Which is true. But she said it while comparing holsters for oat, sand, clay, bone, and unavailable beige. At the gun store, the clerk explained capacity, sights, reliability. She listened politely, then asked if the micro-compact came in a warmer, neutral tone. The clerk had survived divorces, shortages, and 6 men asking for the John Wick one. He said, black is what we have. She nodded. Classic shadow work. Then she made content. 5 ways to stay feminine, grounded, and difficult to kidnap. Trigger discipline is mindfulness. Your voice is your first weapon. That last one became complicated at the nail salon. The manicurist gave her a color that could only be described as expired salmon. She remembered every Boundary podcast saying, never shrink yourself. The manicurist asked, do you like it? She smiled with the courage of a hostage negotiator. I love it. At Pilates, a man outside the window kept staring in. Everyone got nervous. She became calm, prepared. Then he tapped the glass and held up a note. Someone had left their car lights on. It was her car. She walked outside, turned them off, came back, and posted, the universe tests women who are healing later. Filming another video, she said, ladies, your intuition is never wrong. Then Mia showed her the comments. That was just a parking attendant. She stared at the screen.
Exactly.
A government-funded boundary. That night, she called the nail salon and whispered, "Hi, is it too late to maybe change the color?" Armed and moisturized, but still afraid of customer service.
Goth vampire hunter girl. She bought an old double-barrel Coach gun from a man named Rick who described it as haunted. Exactly the description she trusted. She did not say she owned a shotgun. She had accepted a burden. Her apartment was black curtains, silver rings, candles, dried roses, and a smoke detector screaming for mercy. The neighbor complained about incense. She said, "The wards require sacrifice." The neighbor said, "So does my asthma." Every night she watched the courtyard like evil gathered near the recycling bins. A flickering street lamp meant a curse. A man eating garlic sauce meant one prepared citizen remained. Her goth friend Elena encouraged this because every dramatic woman needs a witness. At the gun shop, the owner saw black lace, graveyard expression, and moon earrings, then added 20%. She called it destiny tax. He called it cash preferred. The Coach gun became part of her ritual. Not reckless, not threatening, just ancient and theatrical, like a horror prop with union benefits. Then the landlord arrived, not at night. Worse, at 10:30 a.m., wearing a polo shirt and carrying paperwork. He said they needed access to check the pipes. She said, "No darkness may enter without invitation." He said, "It's in the lease." That defeated her more completely than sunlight ever could. She went to property management in boots, black lipstick, and a face ready to accuse someone of feeding on the living. The receptionist handed her a mold complaint form 3 pages. Blue ink only. For the first time, she understood true evil. Elena whispered. "Lease Ferratu," the receptionist said. "Please take a number." There it was, the real vampire, bureaucracy with fluorescent lights. That night, she found the landlord's email in spam. She whispered, "So this is where they sleep." Then she opened the attachment and saw a service fee. A bloodsucker finally. WW2 Grand Parcours student. He was 23 years old and already disappointed in the youth. Nobody knew how it happened. One day he was normal. Then he discovered documentaries, bought an M1 Garand-style rifle, and acted like he had liberated Europe between sociology lectures. He hated modern rifles. No soul. He hated optics. Skill issue. He hated plastic furniture. Evidence of decline. He hated Bluetooth most because nothing says civilization is collapsing like headphones pairing too slowly. His roommate begged him to be normal. He refused. He wrote with a fountain pen, packed sandwiches in wax paper, and wore a wool jacket that made history reject him.
At university, he told a professor, "Back in my day, people had discipline." The professor said, "Your day was Tuesday." At the gun club, he carried the rifle like a sacred relic. He expected reverence. Frank, 70, looked over and said, "Nice rifle. Don't make it your personality." Too late, it had already filed taxes as him. He visited his grandmother and explained that people used to be tougher. She looked at him for a long moment. "We were not tougher, we were untreated." That hit him harder than recoil history or student loan interest. Still, he refused electronic ear protection, modern slings, and anything invented after his grandfather bought his first refrigerator. He called it authenticity. Frank called it being difficult, then his phone buzzed. Mom sent $20.
He looked at the notification and nodded solemnly. Supply drop. Later in the dorm, he sat under a vintage poster eating delivery noodles, waiting for his roommate to fix the Wi-Fi because his 10-hour video of rifle sounds would not load. He sighed. Infrastructure has made men weak. His roommate said, "You're the infrastructure problem." He stared at the spinning loading icon like enemy artillery. Your delusion is a powerful thing. Cyberpunk Chrome Guy. He watched too much cyberpunk media and decided ordinary life was just a dystopia with bad lighting. He bought a P90-style bullpup PDW because it looked like something an exhausted courier would carry through a neon megacity after telling a vending machine. This city eats people. He lived on the 3rd floor of a normal apartment building. The most cyberpunk object in his life was a router that blinked red when tired. Still, he committed black techwear, fingerless gloves, silver rings, energy drinks arranged like medical equipment. He stopped saying city and started saying the grid. He called his job a corporate extraction zone, which was brave for remote printer support. His roommate asked him to take out the trash. He said, "The system wants us obedient." His roommate said, "The system smells like chicken bones." At the mall, he walked past security like a man carrying secrets. The guards saw the outfit and went back to fries. Nothing wounds a rebel like being deemed not worth paperwork. At the pickup counter, he collected gloves, a sling, and a jacket with 19 pockets. The clerk asked for his last name. He whispered like a classified file. She said louder. The future died in that queue. He hated corporations but accepted all cookies to compare prices on neon glasses. He said data was slavery. Then let an app track him because bubble tea arrived 6 minutes faster. His rebellion had terms and conditions, and he clicked agree. Then the power went out. He stood by the window. PDW case nearby, city dark face lit by emergency LEDs. It started. 40 seconds later, the lights came back. Maintenance. The building had emailed everyone 3 days earlier.
In the hallway, the old neighbor had candles, a flashlight, a radio, and the calm of a woman who survived decades without push notifications. He asked, "Where did you get all that gear?" She said, "I'm from the past." His smart lock beeped, battery low. The grid had chosen violence.